Good morning, everyone. It's my privilege to welcome you to our virtual information session, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to join us this morning. My name is Cobus Oosthuizen, the Dean of the Business School, and joining me as the main attractions for today, my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Jane Usher, our Academic Director, our Program Manager, Mmabatho, Tlhoaele, and Student Services Manager, Yasmin, Sadat. But let me get the conversation going by giving you a snapshot of who we are and what we stand for. Right. So Milpark Business School has been around for more than 20 years with a national footprint in South Africa, and our offerings being the Doctor of Business Administration, or as people commonly refer to it, the DBA, the Master of Business Administration, as you all know it, as the MBA, postgraduate diplomas, that in business administration as well as in public administration, and of course, executive education, short courses, and finally, consulting. Now, friends, we believe we provide quality scholarship in response to Management Education 4.0 and the world of work, and that we are a key contributor to ethical and sustainable business practices informed by the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs as we all know them. We literally give wings to your career progression and your career ambitions. And our reason for being, the way in which we believe we make meaning, is simply to develop ethical leaders for the common good. And this mission is firmly rooted in our values of integrity, respect, excellence, and innovation. So in sum, colleagues, ethical and sustainable business practices are at the heart of our teaching and research philosophy. And hence we empower future leaders and current leaders to pursue ethical and sustainable business practices informed by the SDGs. And this reason for being is built on what we refer to as phronesis, the Greek word for practical wisdom, emphasizing not only the development of great business leaders, but leadership for the common good. And we are very proud of our students' achievements in a wide variety of sectors, and believe it reflects the impact we make as a business school. The most recent PMR Africa National Employer Survey on business schools offering MBA degrees in South Africa rated Milpark Business School third in the overall rankings in 2022. We're also very proud of being the only business school in Africa with AMBER accreditation for our online MBA. But friends, I really trust you will find this session informative and inspirational. And with that, I'm handing over the stage to my colleague, Dr. Jane Usher. Jane, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cobus, and welcome to everybody. Thank you all for sharing this time with us on this lovely, coolish Wednesday morning. And I'd like to welcome Mmabatho and Yasmin. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to take us through a few of the elements of the program and that. So before we go into our discussion, I would just like to show you a slide here of, can you see that, of the team who are there to support you. This is the internal faculty. And as you can see, we've got Cobus Oosthuizen, Yasmin Nakuna, myself, Andres, Mmabatho and Evelyn, Lungi, Zelna, Sean, Nazmira, and Thea. And we've got a smallish full-time complement, but we have got most of our lecturers, or facilitators rather, are from industry. So they are our adjunct faculty, and we have, possibly about 50 to 60 people who are industry experts, subject matter experts, and they help with the content, deliver some of the modules, And so we've got a lot of support from that side. So I just wanted to show you some faces as well. I'm sure they are available. We put this on the website, so at least you can see who you're chatting to if you phone in or you send an email. And this is the other support team that we have. You see it's headed by Yasmin. And Mmabatho is the person that you're going to go to when you need support in terms of uploading exams or you need a deferral, but we'll take you through all of that. And then we have Noni, Wanga, and Pumi. And they are part of our student advisor team because, as you can see, Yasmin is the student support manager. And so she's the go-to person for our students in terms of all the processes, what needs to happen before, so you understand everything before you even get into the program. So without further ado there, I want to quickly go over, and I'm not going to take you through every single subject on the qualifications. That is available on our website, so it'll give you time to go through what each subject is about, how it works, and then when you've got questions or you want to find out something, please reach out to us and we can take you through the curriculum in more detail and how it all works together as a whole. But what I want to ask or speak to you about what is unique about our programs in the business school. When we look at postgraduate diploma in business administration and the MBA, you have two postgraduate qualifications that you can acquire within 3 years. You start with the postgrad in business administration and you are able to carry on to your MBA and complete that. We do have 4 modules that overlap. So you complete them on the postgrad and you carry on with those, you get exemptions onto the MBA. So you've already done that if that's the route you go in. We also ensure that there is immediate application into your work environment because you need to be able to apply what you're learning. It's not theoretical. We've got theories and that's very important. But the main thing is to be able to implement things to work more effectively and efficiently. And so that is why in our assessments, our discussions, it is application, evaluation, assessment. You've got to do a lot of those kind of activities. You create things, you develop things in order to make your business, whether it's your own business or your company that you work for, more effective and efficient, and to make you more effective and efficient. So we also ensure that there is this quality scholarship. And what I mean by that is it relates to the management needs. So we've developed the curriculum and the content on what is happening in the market and what business needs. And that's also why it's a very rich program. You also analyze complex issues, which I'm sure we can all agree, you know, in the world today that's moving so quickly, we've had a lot of change. You know, how complex are the issues that everybody is dealing with today? There are lots of complex issues and in different industries. And so we want people to be able to look at different alternatives, different perspectives in order to come up with the best possible scenarios for your business and for yourself. We also ensure that you can contribute to the development and implementation of responsibilities that individuals and businesses have towards the communities that we work in and our environment. It's very important today to make sure that we are looking at communities, environment, and we also look at a lot of the sustainable development goals to see how are we implementing, how are we working towards achieving those goals. There is definitely elements of personal, professional, and interpersonal skills, because this is actually, in a way, it's a personal leadership development journey, because you are investing in yourself, you're working on yourself, you're going to learn things from a personal perspective. Then you also learn how to interact with each other, because there's group work, syndicate groups. And what we find is a lot of the people find it so frustrating. You just want to get in, do your own thing and carry on. But work doesn't happen like that. When you're in work, you work in teams. And you need to be able to leverage on people's strengths, understand where people are maybe not so good, and you can work properly with each other. But it takes skill to do that. And then your professional skills as well. There's technical information that you will learn and apply, as well as professional skills such as you need to be able to present, you need to be able to talk, you need to be able to write reports properly. And those all go to grooming you, even more so than you are, to be able to sit at the kind of the C-suite or run your own business. The curriculum is integrated. So as I said, you've got technical skills, you've got soft skills, which I think we should change now to power skills. I'm going to change that. And there is a positive contribution to society. One of the modules that you will do is a direct, you work in communities to consult and make things a bit more better for a charity in that community. And that's a really heartwarming module. It's quite tough. It's tough in that it's fairly emotional. And I know you might think, well, an MBA is not supposed to be emotional. We want you to get involved, and you'll hear Cobus speak about this a little bit later. Every part of your being needs to be involved in what you're doing. We also want you to be able to use your own voice based upon theory. So you don't just tell us what Porter said or Cotter said or whoever. What is your interpretation of that? Because how have you put it into practice in what works in your scenario, in your industry? So we want you to have your own voice, but based on sound evidence. We also ensure that there's creative, imaginative solutions you come up with that are credible. So it's not pie in the sky. It's based on theory. It's based on scenarios that you are going to implement. There's also elements of evaluation of local, national, and global issues in relation to 4IR, because that's where we are, plus the Sustainable Development Goals. Those are very interesting aspects to be looking at as we move further into the future. And then very close support from your facilitators, from faculty, from the whole MBS team, as well as your peers. And what we find is, and why you do these qualifications is for the networking. You build up fantastic relationships with each other. We've had people who have worked together from Namibia to South Africa to KZN, and they are still friends. They still contact each other because they've come on this journey together. And we've had students from United Kingdom, Korea, and they work in teams and they make things work as they go along, just the same way that business today, we can work from wherever, which is a fantastic thing. So that's really what is unique about the postgraduate diploma in business administration, moving on to the MBA. And we'll talk a little bit about admission requirements and what happens there and what you need. But if you have already got a postgraduate qualification, you can go straight into the MBA with certain admission areas that we need to look at. So that's a little bit about why we feel it's quite a fun, good, integrated program that we have. And I'm going to now stop sharing this, and I'm going to go to Mmabatho. I see we've lost Yasmin for a little bit, but that's no worries. I'm hoping that we'll get her back. Mmabatho, so we're going to have a quick chat, because for all students, you are the program managers are your go-to people. I see Yasmin is there. They give you the ongoing support. The relationships that you build with the students are very vital, and that's where a lot of the support lies. So, Mmabatho, can you give us an idea of what do you do What is a day in the life of a program manager, an MBA postgraduate program manager?
Thanks, Dr. J. Hi, everyone. It's basically a number of activities that we do on a daily. It starts from the students' administration and registration up to the little as customer care, just basically looking out for the student to see that their daily queries are sorted out, their request, and anything that they might need in terms of support, it is basically sorted out. So we, as the program manager, we responsible for the admission process and the registration of the students. The admission, we've got two routes that we use to kind of assess if a student qualifies to be admitted into a certain program. The normal route is where you find a student has the qualifications and the experience. So that route is quite easy and it's simple, where you just look at the documents. Does the student have a level 7, for an example, if they are applying for the PGDIP, or if they've got a level 8, if they're applying for the MBA. With the MBA, we then look at the student's background in terms of work qualification and the experience that they have. We also do interviews with the MBAs just to get the understanding of where they come from, where they stand, and what are the reasons on embarking on the MBA journey. So that's the simple one, where you just basically do that and you administer and you admit the student onto a program. Then we've got a route 2, where a student does not have the academic qualifications to go through the admission route, where we call it the RPL, the prior learning recognition, where we look at now the age of the student. Will the student cope onto the MBA? What other short courses or other if I can say, not so formal qualification, informal qualifications that they've done previously, that we can assess to see if they will really cope on the MBA program or the PGDIP program. What we normally advise the student when they don't really qualify on the route 1 on the MBA is to start with the PGDIP, because that is the foundation and the build up into the MBA. And that's where the student would be able to assess whether the level of the stress level that comes with studying, will they cope with it? So that is basically what we do on the daily. And we do the program management after that, where we assess basically we see the performance of the student from the beginning to the end. Are they coping? Are they not coping? The number of modules that we give them during the registration process, are they coping with that, or do we need to kind of limit the number of modules? Instead of giving them 2, just give them 1. And with the management program, it is also to remind the students that it's not about the finish time, it's about the journey that you take and to make sure that you finish on time. So the flexibility of having the 2 to 5 years, it kind of gives them the allowance to work through their personal lives and adjust that and bring their studies into one. So that is basically what we do on a daily.
Great. So have you ever had students who've suddenly had a big issue and they need assistance from an emotional perspective? How do you support them there?
We've had that, and we get that a lot, because the students underestimate the pressure that comes with the MBA studies or the PGDIP. Balancing the work is, for some, it's very difficult. We do have the counselor that we do arrange the one-on-one, just to see how best can we assist the students. So it's a professional level way. It's a counseling session where a student has a one-on-one with our internal counselor. And if the counselor picks up that the student is really not coping, we would never pressurize a student to continue with the studies just for them to fail at the end of the day. We do advise the student, if you feel this is a time where you cannot concentrate and really whatever that they're going through, it's too much. It's too much of a burden to even concentrate on the studies. We do have an option of suspending, giving a student a suspension to say, okay, let's suspend your studies for a year. so that you deal with what you need to deal with. And by the time you come back, you'll be in the right state of mind to kind of concentrate and manage your personal life, your work life, and your study life. So the support is really great. We do also have the one-on-one with module owners. Students have access to the HODs. Students have access to the dean. So it's not really a long process where a student has to wait months for them to be assisted. It's a matter of students coming forward and saying, really, I am struggling. I am not coping. What is there for me? What help can I get from Milpark to assist me with whatever that I'm going through? So we do encourage students to kind of raise their hands up to say, I'm not coping. And in that, we do give them sufficient support for them to kind of take a break and come back and journey through.
And I'm sure you also get to know your students. You know your students that well.
We know them on a personal level, especially the ones that speak up and raise their hands when they're not coping. They say, if they miss an assignment, they say. So it really starts there, engaging with your program manager so that we know who you are, what you do, and if something happens. I mean, you do see if a student, when you're checking an assignment, it's the due date for an assignment is not there. You know the commitment of that student. You just pick up and call and say, I see you've not submitted. Why? It's the kind of relationship that we've tended to build throughout the years, and that is what we encourage. Do not shy back as a student. Come forward. We know you, we understand you, and it is easy for us, even internally, to pick up such small issues to say, there's something wrong here because this is not the level of quality that the students gives me. So yes.
That's cool. And when you do the interviews with the students, it's a very in-depth interview. In terms of support systems, what do you tell the students how they should? Do they just decide one day, oh, I'm going to do my postgrad and my MBA? Or how do you advise them to make sure that they're going to manage?
One thing that I always say to students is, although this is their journey, there's certain people that are involved around them. So before they can start coming to us and saying they want to embark on this MBA or the PG journey, they need to have a discussion with their immediate surrounding people, because you've got children, they are used to going out on a Friday evening, and here you are, you're telling them, I can't take you out this weekend because I've got studies. They would not understand because you've not engaged or you've not initiated that conversation to tell them to say, look, mommy is going on a learning journey, and certain Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, I will not be available. Certain school night ballet, I will not be available because I will have a class between 6 and 9. So it is very important for students to have the conversation with their families, their friends, and whoever that they would feel that they would need support from, to say, look, the next coming 2 years, if I've given you 80% of my time, believe you me, you're only going to get 0.1. And it's not because I'm neglecting the friendship or the family or the husband even. It's because the journey that I'm working on, it will bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my life. And these are the reason why I'm embarking on this journey. So the first point of discussion before students even think of this is to have a conversation with their immediate support to see if they would get that support. Because at the end of the day, if we are giving you support, but you're not getting support at home from your friends, from your husband, from your children, it becomes kind of a burden where now you're caught in the middle. Where do you pull to? You pull to the left, you miss classes because now you need to take your daughter to kiddies party. Or does the kiddie understand that mommy has to be in class? So it is that conversation that they need to start there to say, do I have the right support? My mental state, am I ready to embark on this, to really deprive myself that wedding, my best friend's wedding, when it comes and I say, I can't make it. You understand the duties of coming with that and you saying literally, I cannot make it. Will the people around you understand? So that's where the conversation really starts with applicants coming on board.
And I think that's a really important thing for for everybody to be aware of, and even an ongoing, because in the beginning everyone says, yeah, cool, I'll support you, no worries, and work also says, it's fine, no, we know you're doing your postgrad, it's super. And then suddenly when you've got assignments due and presentations due, there's perhaps a few people that are not supporting. So those kind of ongoing conversations are needed. And then to talk to your program managers, your lecturers as well. So I think that's a really important part of what you do, Mmabatho. And that's why that interview is that important. I think that's, and I think maybe we underestimate the importance of that interview. Or students say, why do we need to do it? It just takes time. It does take time, but it is worth it in the end. And you start getting to know each other even then. So I'm going to pause a little bit from talking about support from a program management point of view. And I want to ask Yasmin, Yasmin specifically. We have two processes. We have got, I want to say admission process, and then we've got a registration process. Can you explain to everybody what are the admission requirements for the postgrad and then the MBA? And, how do you start going about this?
Okay. With regards to, let's start with the postgrad in business. The entry requirement is a 3-year bachelor degree, equivalent to an NQF level 7. If the student has studied in a different country, it's important to have the certificate evaluated by SAQA prior applying with us. And for the postgrad in public admin is also a 3-year degree, a bachelor degree. And for the MBA, obviously it's an NQF level 8. That would be a postgrad in any field of study or an honors degree in any field of study to apply for the MBA. So the difference between application and registration is that admission application is applying for the qualification to get accepted, provided that the student has passed the entry test and all the documents. And then the registration process takes place when the student has been approved on the qualification and it's time to register for the modules. So we have two different processes, and this is how I would differentiate them.
So basically you need to be accepted and you get a letter of acceptance and then you register for the modules. And I think
That's
sometimes,
correct.
Sometimes students kind of don't realize that. So they've been accepted and then you still need to decide what are you going to take at that stage. Okay, so how does a new student to Milpark embark on this admission process? I've got a blank.
Yeah, I think there are a few pertinent questions that one should ask themselves before embarking on a postgrad. The student's investment in a postgrad qualification is significant in terms of their time as well as their money. Student wants to make sure that they are choosing an institution where the rigor of the online classes will challenge them. We can assure all our prospective applicants who are present today that choosing Milpark Business School as a provider for their postgraduate qualification is one of the best decisions one can take. As a business school, we are producing the next generation of leaders who are committed to practicing business for good in line with the 4th Industrial Revolution to create a beautiful tomorrow. The other consideration that one should really look at is that our postgraduate qualification, the MBA specifically, is AMBA accredited. It's one of the main global accreditation bodies in business education. The AMBA sets an international benchmark of excellence in management education. By studying your MBA with us, you'll graduate with a qualification from a business school recognized internationally for its excellence in teaching and research, giving you the opportunity to stand out. Moreover, our postgraduate qualification are offered purely distance learning online, which add flexibility and self-paced learning, as well as better time management. So these are the three key considerations that one should really look out for when embarking on our postgraduate qualification.
Yeah, I think that's very important, especially the AMBER qualification is, the AMBER accreditation is really important. And when you graduate and you activate your AMBER membership, there are lots of opportunities and
Definitely
international opportunities that come your way, and local. So that's why we work so hard to keep our AMBER accreditation.
Jane,
Yasmin,
if I had an opportunity to do my MBA a second time, I'll definitely do it with Milpark, based on our highly qualified academic staff who have extensive industry experience, ensuring a learning environment that promotes growth, producing experiences for our students. So yeah.
Aha. Well, we'll talk about your next step later on, Yasmin. So there are a lot of documents that students need for the application process. We've got an online application process, which is one thing you'll take them through, and then a manual one where we help them. What documents are required? Why do we need so many documents? And how do you suggest students go about making this process as easy and seamless as possible from their perspective?
Mm-hmm. So students coming to study with us for the very first time, as a new student, it's important that they submit all the documents that is requested on the online application, meaning a copy of their ID, matric certificate, although we don't really look at matric, but it's a requirement from the department to keep a copy of the matric certificate or the exemption certificate. Then we also require academic transcript of the qualification they've completed, be it a bachelor degree, postgrad, or an honors degree. We also require a copy of their CV on a specific template, not in Word. It has to be on an AMBER CV template. The website already, student has access to download it. And then we also need students to fill up the test booking form for PGD, Business Administration and MBA only. Okay, students who are applying for postgrad in public administration are not required to write the assessment tests. Okay, there's a cost associated with the testing, which is 1,500. We recommend students to pay the 1,500 at the time of application online. However, we are not going to hold the application because the 1,500 is outstanding. We will still allow the student to write the test and recover the money at a later stage. Okay, that's the testing is applicable only for postgrad, business admin, and MBA. Okay, and if the student has studied with us previously, right, we will have copy of their ID and previous academic transcript on the system. Our system online is smart. It will pick up if a student has registered previously and studied with us previously, and it will pick up if we already have copies of certain of the documents, then the system will not request like an ID if you already have it on the system. This is how it works. If a student coming for the very first time, then they will have to tick all the boxes and submit everything. Now, if anybody is having issues applying online due to any technical issues, I've posted our contact details in the chat box. Please feel free to call us on the 086 number or send us an email to mbs@milpark.ac.za. The sales team will definitely get back to the student within 24 hours or less, but we'll definitely get back to the student. The student may request a call back, and one of the advisors will call the student and assist the student with the application process if they're having issue doing it online.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why do we do an admission test?
Yeah. The student, this is part of the requirement for MBA and PGDBA. The reason why we do the testing is because students are tested on their numerical skills, reasoning skills, and writing skills. And yeah, so student needs to get acceptable ratings on these scores in order to get approved onto the PGDBA and the MBA. I just want to add that if a student has written the test on the postgrad in business admin previously and they were successfully admitted, they've completed the program, it will not be necessary for them to write the testing again on the MBA. Right?
Yeah, because it's done. Yeah. So just to add a little bit more in terms of the test and the benefit that the student gets from doing the test is the report that you will get from the supplier that does it, TTS, and there it tells you where your strong points are, where areas are that you can work on, and that gives everybody a good understanding of where we can support you as a student more. You as a student are proactive and say, okay, well, perhaps I'm not as good with writing as I could be. You know, how am I going to do that? And with the modules that we do on academic writing, report writing, you can really hone your skills there. If it's financial or numerical issues, we have a short course that if you've never done anything in finance and accounting, you know, it's a good, we want you to do that so that you have the basics in place so that you can carry on. So, you know, the reason for doing that is not just to make people jump through hoops, but it is to, you know, you get a really good report on where you are at the moment, and then, you know, you can see how you progress as well. So I think Mmabatho is still here. I just want to ask Mmabatho, how do you go about scheduling the tests with the students, and that how does that process work?
Okay. So, Dr. Jane, what happens is as soon as the applications comes to our side, we look if the student has submitted all the documents and if they meet all the requirements that are required for that particular program. We would then send out an email explaining to the student what the assessment covers, and we would then request the student to confirm their availability in completing that online assessment. The assessment usually takes about 3 hours. It's done online. So we book it based on the student's availability and also looking at the close of admissions on our side. So if the admission is closer to the cutoff time, we would then give a student a deadline to say you need to complete this self-assessment at a certain date. Once we receive a response from a student, we will then book the assessment with TTS. The only details that we share with TTS is the student's name and surname, the cell phone number, and the email address. Due to the POPI Act, we cannot share any personal information like the IDs and everything. So we do also request the student to give us permission to share those details with TTS. Once we have placed the assessment with TTS based on the date that we are given by the student, TTS would then generate the link and send that directly to the student. So a student might request a date, let's say for an example, for next week, the 4th of July. If I order that link today. The student will have access to that link up until the 4th. So it's up to them when they complete that assignment. Are they going to wait for the 4th because they requested for the 4th, or they're going to be doing it bit by bit up until the 4th? So that's how it works. Once you start, you can take breaks. Once you start assessment, because there's different assessment, there is work-related, ability. Once you start one section, you need to complete it, but you don't immediately have to go into the next session. You can take a break, sit, relax, and just assess and say, okay, did it go well or what happened? So the TTS is basically booked in that way. The student does not have to do anything. We do everything on our side. Once the student has completed the assessment, TTS will then share the outcome of the assessment with us and also the student. We would then look at the outcome or the assessment rating based on how well the student has done or how bad the student has done. So the TTS, we don't really hold students that much to say you cannot be admitted because of the TTS. Because the TTS, it's for it to give you guidelines on what you need to work hard on. It might be numeracy, it might be verbal reasoning, it might be the way you work in group dynamics, the way you handle that pressure. So it basically tells you what are your strongest points, what are your weakest points, what is it that you need to look out before you even start this MBA journey or the PhD journey. So there is a minimum requirement that we need, obviously, but if an assessment feedback is lower than the required, then we then put a student what we call a conditional admission, where we're now saying, okay, now because of your assessment results, we're going to monitor you and see that with the first 2 registrations that you do, how bad or how well are you doing? Then we then assess the student and say that's a conditional registration, and then would only give students certain modules that they need to prove themselves in order for them to continue on that particular program. So that is how the TTS works.
Great, thanks, Mmabatho. And I see Dinesh has asked, what is an acceptable score in the for admission? So there are a variety of tests that are also acceptable. You are allowed to do the Apple test, which is offered by different institutions, SHL, GMAT. So there's slightly different cutoff points when you do those as well. So if those are valid, you can bring those to us. With the TTS, there's not a hard and fast, you need to get 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. It doesn't work like that. We look at the range per skills and competency or what they are looking at. And, some people might have something weak, like a 2 for one aspect, but then they've got a 9 and a 10 for other aspects. So it's not really one, like 50% or 90%. So that's why and you can't fail it. You can't fail the test. So I know it sounds very strange when we say achieve an acceptable rating. It's with the TTS, it's holistic elements that we look at. So I know also some people get very stressed that they have to write a test, and you may not have studied for a few years. You've got your postgraduate degree or you've got your undergraduate degree and you've been working. So oftentimes students come back after working for 5, 7, 10, 15 years, and then they get apprehensive about writing a test. It's really a developmental area. And if there are weak areas, we would talk to you about that. And as Mmabatho says, look at the whole, speak to you about it, and then there's a possibility of a conditional acceptance, and then we help and support you to see how are you managing with those first 2 modules that we've said that you should do, and then you have sessions afterwards. If those are fine and you're coping, then you can carry on. If the student often then will find if they're really not coping, talking through all the support with Mmabatho and Evelyn and the counselor, they may want to do an alternative qualification if they're finding, say, one of these specifically difficult. So it's a bit of a difficult question to ask, but the assessment test is not the be all and the end all. We look at your qualifications, your experience. That's why your CV is important. Your interview is very important, because that's when Mmabatho and Evelyn can actually get a sense of, do you really want to do this? Is it an intrinsic motivation? Do you just want it for the paper, which is a very difficult thing to get you through this expedition, as I'm now calling it. It's an expedition because it's very adventurous. You're going to go up and down, up and down. It's like climbing Everest. I think Cobus can, he uses that analogy a lot, or the comrades. So we look at it as a whole. So don't be worried or intimidated by this so-called assessment test. Maybe we should try and change the word so it's not so intimidating, because none of us like writing tests or exams. But, well, they're not too bad these days. So that's why it's fairly difficult to answer exactly that. It's not a cut and dry, okay, you failed because you only got 30%. So I hope, Denise, that kind of answers your question a bit there. Okay. I was wanting to ask Yasmin a bit about, we work on, you register per module. Explain to us a bit, can students register for the whole year? Can they, how do we work it? Are there options in terms of support and help with finances? And how do those payment plans work? And how long does it take for something to be approved like that?
Mm-hmm. So we do offer a payment plan without interest for all our qualification. A student can only apply for payment terms once they've been approved onto a qualification. Okay, so what we do is then, because we give the flexibility for students to register the number of modules that they want to do per year, then we calculate the payment plan based on the number of modules the student wish to do semester 1 or semester 2 or for the year. So student can also choose to pay over a year period that will then start from end of Jan to end of November. It makes it 10 months. Or student can also pay over one semester. That would be about 4 months. So if the total is 100,000 for semester 1, we split it into 4 payments, and the student can then pay 25,000 each month and pay off in four installments. Mm-hmm. This is how we calculate our payment terms. It does take perhaps a week or so to get an acknowledge of debt to be approved by the finance department, because it requires them to do a vetting on their side. Or students are also welcome to apply with Capitec for a student loan. There's a process that needs to be followed. Do you have the slides?
Yes,
Jen?
I do. Can I let you have a look
Please.
at that? Of course, I've lost my mouse. There it is. It's back. Let me share this with you. There we go. There's our slide. I hope. There we go.
Yes. Yes. So this is the details that student needs to follow. They can apply for a Capitec loan by clicking on the Apply Now button. But you can also access those details on our website. It's there. It's under the business school page under Get Funding. So if this, you'll be able to access the process to apply for a Capitec loan and the contact details, Jane.
Good.
So then what Capitec, yes, that what Capitex is going to do once the loan is being approved is to transfer the fund to us and not to the student's account.
Mm.
And then we
Just make-
utilize that money to register for the modules.
Mm.
In addition to that, we do accept bursary letters from your employer. Please make sure that you request a sponsorship template from us, and so that you can give it to your employer to approve any funding that you will get. Yeah.
Super. That's great. So, there are ways of financing this very, very important investment in yourself. And I think, education is one of those things that is that valuable, and, you deserve to invest in yourself. So I would encourage everybody to do this. So we've got here if you would like to set up a one-on-one meeting, we can do that. Yasmin's team are probably the best to the first meeting. They can explain everything. We can send you the prospectus if you give us permission to contact you if you would like that. And also, we have a webinar series. We've got a really interesting one happening tomorrow at, I think it's 11 o'clock, on social media and the pitfalls there. So, if you want to be invited to the webinars that keep happening, we do it once a month now. Please also let us know on that, because they're quite exciting. And if you've got any ideas of webinars that you would like to, or subjects you would like us to cover, we'd love to know that. So just in closing from, I'll give Mmabatho and then Yasmin a chance to say. Mmabatho, what is some closing thoughts in terms of support for students and what you would encourage them to do? So it's the middle of the year. Is it time to embark on something new and exciting?
It's the middle of the year. It's never too late to start on the PGDIP and the MBA. I think that is what is so nice about the flexibility of Milpark. Applications are opened throughout the year, but then you'd obviously be limited on the modules that you'll take with the different blocks that we have throughout the year. So admission is currently open for second semester, which is block 3 and block 4. With those, once their application is approved, it is very important to sit with your program manager to dot through your modules, because you've missed the first part of the year. We're not saying it's impossible, it's very much possible. But the initiative needs to start with you having a conversation with your program manager to say, because I'm starting in the middle of the year, what options do I have? What modules, selection options do I have? And how long will it take since I'm starting in the middle of the year? Then we are able to support you, give you a thought out study plan that both me and the applicant agree on based on their work pressures, their life pressures, and all of those. So it's never too late to study. It's never too late to start. We are currently open. Admissions are open for second semester. Registration is also open for second semester. So I can only wish them the best, and yeah, take that courage and click that mouse and visit Milpark's website.
Thanks, Mmabatho. That's great. Yasmin, from you, when do admissions close? Just by the way, for this.
Yes, we accepting application up until the 6th of July, and then registration for the modules will close on the 15th, because classes will then begin on the 19th of July. So yeah, I wish you, just to add to what my colleague Mmabatho just said, your learning journey starts here, and only you can choose where it leads you. We are confident that you will make the wise decision to pursue your academic ambitions with us, Milpark Business School. It will be our pleasure to partner with you on this important journey, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Yasmin. And thanks, Mmabatho. We really appreciate your time. So we've got a slide up here about choices, but I'm going to hand over to Cobus to round the session up for everybody. Thank you, Cobus.
Thank you, Jane, to round the session off. I mean, colleagues, you would agree with me that these three wonderful ladies have really informed you this morning. So I don't think anybody can say that they haven't been informed to make an educated decision. So to my colleagues, Jane, Mmabatho, and Yasmin, thank you very much for taking us through this very exciting information that you've shared with us. So yeah, as I said, I cannot add to what has already been said. Perhaps just a few key takeaways. Why us? Why we believe you should choose us as your learning partner. Well, firstly, as I said, which we're very proud of, is being the only AMBER accredited online MBA in Africa. I refer to the 2022 PMR ranking of being ranked third overall for MBA in South Africa, and may I add, first overall for executive education. We believe firmly that our content in our programs are contemporary, it's relevant, it talks to the challenges of the times we find ourselves in. And of course, that comes through very experienced facilitators from industry. And then the learning environment that we endeavor to create, as was noted by Yasmin earlier on, promotes growth-producing experiences for students. And we endeavor to impact all three modes of learning, namely cognitively, emotionally, and physically. By physically, I'm not meaning, working out with, and sweating, but it's getting your whole being involved and endeavor to immerse you in the activities as close as possible to the real world. So in a way, we endeavor to create this learning environment that would optimize learning, because the Romans taught their children that nothing could be learned whilst sitting down, because if you just engage the brain alone, that is not sufficient. We have to engage the whole being. So that is
I think we have lost Cobus. Might be load shedding. So I will say to everybody, think about it, consider it. Don't put it off. You might think 2-3 years is a long time. It's not. And if you start it now, you'll be finished in a blink of an eye. You can ask Yasmin. She's just completed her MBA. It was hard, but she did it, and it happened much, much more quickly than she thought. So thank you, everybody, for your time, for your listening to us, and please contact us. We'd really, really like to chat to you, answer any questions that you've got, and we look forward to seeing you very soon in the near future. And have a good day. Thank you. Thanks, Yas. Thanks, Mmabatho. Bye.